I currently cover motorsports. I'll go on site to do some grand slams like the Australian Open or Wimbledon, but obviously with no travel, there's been, and no sport at one time, I had zero work. So 2020 was probably one of the worst years in history I can remember. Um, so my office allowed me to come back home because my son lives in Brunei. So I couldn't keep doing this quarantining backwards and forwards. So I do all my Formula One shows from this little studio here in Brunei. And I'll be continuing to do that for the rest of the season, which is great because I get to spend time with Zayn as well. And apart from that, I've been doing some ad hoc MC work, which, as we were talking about before we started recording, Farisha, at least in Brunei, we still have events that are going on, and we're so lucky that we can have seminars and conferences and launches and stuff like that. So I do voiceover work for badminton and just bits and bobs that are coming my way, really.
Amazing, amazing. And how old is your son?
Zayn is 10 years old.
Oh, okay. Right. So can you also share with me on what are the biggest challenges that you go through in your career, and how do you overcome it? How do you bounce back from the challenges?
I think a very significant year for me was back in 2006 when I decided to make a pretty big move to tell Channel V I wanted to leave and try something different. I wanted to go with a job that I could grow old with, but as a VJ, you have to stay young and cute and peppy. And I was already at the time, I think I was 32, and I realized that I wanted to quit before they fired me. So I did a screen test for ESPN Star Sports in Singapore, not knowing anything about sport. And miraculously, I got the job. With that job, I was then eventually asked to host Formula One. And it's not an area that I was comfortable with. I didn't know anything about it. And I was met with a lot of criticism from all over the world. We had a lot of viewers in India, and I struggled. I kept trying to pull out. I said, I can't do this. I feel like I have imposter syndrome. It was a really, really tough year. I had to work so hard just to prove that I could keep and earn my spot there, because it's such a big product on our network. I had to give it the due amount of respect. I had to just keep working hard. I had to cut out the negativity. I had to rely on people like Alex Young and my pundits and my producer to get me through this, and literally just say, okay, this is not about you. This is about Paula getting the show from A to B. It's not about me. So don't take these criticisms personally. I'm trying my best. And I think I just worked harder and harder and harder and harder, and I still work very hard at it. And it's been 16 years. So I think, if you'd have told me when I was a VJ, oh, you're going to be a sport anchor, I would have thought you're absolutely crazy. At the end of the day, the lesson I learned is that you can actually, quite literally, it's so cliche, do anything if you put your mind to it and you put in the hours and you put in the time and you respect it. Because I think I've proven that with something like Formula One. It's such a big, intimidating sport, particularly when you're on site in the paddock. You have to really know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Paula, because it's all in the mind. It's all about your mindset. It's all about your thinking. If you think positive thoughts, it's all about positivity and growth mindset. And that's how you succeed, and that's how you grow.
Exactly. I mean, I think for me, it was A, definitely growth mindset, but B, learning how to tune out internal dialogue that wasn't working for me, people that were toxic, that were giving me grief. So yeah, it's about getting yourself in control of your emotions and saying, okay, I'm not going to let that dictate how I feel. I'm going to dictate how I feel. Remember that one last thing to add, when in those days, I mean, 16 years ago, not so many women were doing sport. So of course your added pressure is, oh, there's a woman doing Formula One. What do women know about sport? This narrative has changed very, very much so over the last 16 years. I've noticed in Astro arena and sport, you have a lot of female sport presenters, and all over the world, they're using women. Why shouldn't we be used? We're good, we're clean, we can get the job done. So I was also fighting with that. But now, thankfully, that's become quite old fashioned and archaic, and networks and companies and clients are quite keen to actually have a woman now to host sports show. I think it's become generally quite appealing.